Van Dol of the Soho Dolls.
Exactly. Hello. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And you guys are quite a long-standing act, with quite a long history, but with a big gap. Took a bit of a hiatus for about a decade or so.
Yes, we did. Yep.
So,
Um,
your comeback was arguably this year, your EP, but a couple of singles that we'll come back to as well, and an incident which may have relaunched you, or
yes,
given you a bit of a kick, shall we say. But
exactly.
we'll work our way through. The band's been going since around about 2000-ish, maybe a bit longer than
Yeah.
that,
2006.
2006. So I mean, quite a long time ago. One of the things that I did notice, I was going back to a little bit of research about you back then, was when you toured on your first album, 2006, 2007, and I saw the tour poster, and it was for the UK, and it was like, how many dates? And I sat down and counted them. It was 34 dates.
Yeah, I think it was, I remember it as 35, but probably was 34. It was grueling and fun.
I was going to say, how does, because we see bands touring nowadays, and even the smaller bands, the ones that are up and coming, they'll do a UK tour and it'll be 5 dates.
Yeah.
You'll get the bigger bands like Papa Roach who've just announced a UK tour of Wembley Arena, which isn't a tour because you're not going anywhere. It's not the UK because it's one bloody day. How do you cope with 34 dates on the road?
It was quite tough. But I remember that we insisted, or rather I insisted that we have a night off every 6 days.
Mhm.
So I guess labels want to make it cost effective. So you've got the main cities or the cities that you're popular in,
Yep.
and then because we had a couple of session players, rather than just have dead days where we're paying them by the day,
Mhm.
the label and the agent. So we kind of did a lot of smaller towns. Even played Greenock and Scotland and
Yep.
Bedford and Luton, all these places. So, and I thought, yeah, it was probably cost efficient. But I do remember that when we got the tour dates, our then manager and the label were trying to see if we could, stay in have a tour bus, and we sleep in it.
Mhm.
But the thought of doing that just horrified me. So I played the red card and said, I'll be menstruating twice during this month, which wasn't true. And I said, that's not good enough for me. And yeah, and then they're like, okay, we don't want to hear about it. You can stay in we'll do a deal with Travelodge or Premier Inn. So that's how we did
I'm making a note of that one. I'm going to use that in the future.
it.
Um, actually, because you mentioned that, it's one of the questions that one of the things that I'd like to talk about. You had your big gap, but one of the first singles you actually re-released a couple of years back was called Period,
Yes.
which was a charity single, which I quite liked. I've got two daughters, so I'm all for this. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and why was this a song you had written and then went with the charity angle, or was this a charity cause that you thought I could help them and then wrote the single around that? Which way around did it come?
It was the former.
Yeah.
So I had think I started writing the song after we didn't sign for another album with the label. And at the same time there was the 2008 financial crash. So
Yeah.
I lost my part-time job. And at the same time I also was coming out of a big breakup. And at the same time I got diagnosed with endometriosis. So it was just a song written from, the heart, and it just, yeah, I wrote it, and then I kind of sat on the song for a bit. But then when we got back into business with the label again after, the comeback, Livia at the label, actually, she wanted to hear all the demos that I'd never released. And that was one of them. And I think she came up with the idea. She said, look, there's this charity that's kind of looking for support and collaborators. What if we use this song for it? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a good cause. I remember being shocked as a teenager that there is VAT on things like
Yeah.
sanitary products.
Yeah,
So
because
it
they're a
was it
luxury. You don't need them. They're a complete luxury, aren't they? Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, I know. So it was that way around. And yeah, we donated the proceeds, or at least 50% of the proceeds, I don't remember the exact figure, to end period poverty.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning them because they are a charity that I heard a fair bit about, probably about that time, but they seem to have kind of disappeared under the radar a little bit. So it's probably worth raising awareness of that. That although it's something which has been helped, and certainly in a lot of schools nowadays, it seems to be quite policy to have them available for pupils if they need them. I'm a school teacher,
Oh,
and
brilliant.
it's nice when you go into the nurse's office and they're there. And I know some schools have them in little machines in the lavatories and so on.
Yeah.
But it's nice to raise awareness, and particularly for younger people growing up now, that a decade ago that wasn't a thing.
No, it wasn't. And apparently loads of girls from low income families, they were
Mhm.
missing a lot of days every month from their education because they couldn't afford sanitary products. And this is in the UK.
Yeah.
So that was, I didn't know that until I read a bit more about end period poverty. So yeah, that it was actually stopping people from going to school.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
obviously sitting on tour buses, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But no, it's a great cause, and as a teacher and a father of two girls as well, thank you for
Oh no.
raising the awareness and putting the effort in for that as well.
Oh,
It's
okay.
good to
Well,
see.
oh, thank you. I've got Livia to thank because she's always got all these really good ideas because I'm always, stuck in creative mode. And yeah, so she's great. She helps me out with all of these things. She suffers social media and
Mhm.
trends and stuff, not trends, but things that are going on in the world, and then plugs me into them. So yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned that was a demo you hadn't really done anything with. Now, I know during the time when the band
Actually,
kind of
that is the demo. That is the demo. So I released the demo because I didn't take it to a producer to finish. I just thought, the song is what it is.
Mhm.
It's very much about the lyrics. It didn't need snazzy production. So I'm pretty sure it's just the demo. Yeah.
You had some other material as well, Robert, then, because although the band stopped producing material as such, you released some of your own solo stuff around that point as well.
Yeah, I've released a couple of songs under Maya Von Doll, and the very first one I did, I think it got onto Gossip Girl. So that was my third track on Gossip Girl. Two songs of Soho Dolls and then Maya Von Doll. They actually, they are a sync agency asked me to write a song for the Sex and the City film, and they wanted a song about empowered, independent females. So I wrote the song called "Play My Way"
Mhm.
and pitched it like loads of other acts were pitching, and then in the end, the music supervisor of the film Sex and the City, they chose Jay-Z's New York, which wasn't about, but it is a great song and actually probably is a better sync for the film. But it was good too. And then I just thought, actually, maybe I'll just put this out myself because it didn't quite have the Soho Dolls sound, a
Yeah.
bit more pop.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that was Play My Way. I think yeah, I've done a couple under Maya Von Doll. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is quite a big gap between the first album and then this EP. Do you feel? I mean, you mentioned there about the sound being not quite a right sound for the band. Do you feel that the Soho Dolls sound has changed in that 20-year gap, or are you writing
I would
the
like it,
material?
yeah, I would say it's changed a bit, but probably not that much. Um, like there are some songs on the first album, Ribbed Music for the Numb Generation, that I find it really hard to listen to because I would have done it differently now, probably not even put out the song.
Okay.
Um, but so I had an EP out, I think in 2014 under Soho Dolls, which is the Mayday EP, and now I'm working on the second album, but in my head it's the third album, but really it is the second album.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like it's still the old Soho Doll sound, but just updated a tiny bit. But the current producer, Beck, known as Nietzsche's, he's based in Tashkent in Uzbekistan. He's a big fan of the first producer, Robert Harder.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's in the same vein, electro rock. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, for those who've not had a chance to hear you, it's got a very try the electro is definitely there. You've got the drum machine kind of sound, of the electric drums rather than the traditional drums. You've got the
Hmm.
keyboards in there and stuff as well. It's got a very kind of synth poppy kind of sound to particularly the older material. And
Yes.
watching the original video for Bang 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 as well, it's just got that whole look and whole vibe to it. Which
Yeah.
look at the newer videos, there's definitely a change there.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Yes, you're right.
Because
I
this is
don't.
me being fairly new to the band and just done the research over the last couple of weeks. It's been nice to like
Yeah.
cram a 20-year journey
Oh,
into
nice.
a couple of days
Yeah,
viewing.
it's funny for me to sit back and think, is this different to that? but it's not been like a complete reinvention the way,
Mm.
you know, some bands do. But there are some quite rocky tracks on it, like because the producer is a guitar player himself. He's also a rock artist. So there's some there always has to be. Well, I say that, but I've got two songs with no guitars, but 10 out of 12 have guitars and quite rocky guitars on them. Yeah.
That's all right. You get some metal albums that occasionally don't have a guitar on for whatever reason, but
Oh, really?
um, it's rare, but it happens. Um,
Okay.
the song I just mentioned as well, "Bang Bang Bang Bang," that was re-recorded. And that one you can hear an obvious difference in the sound. The newer version actually is a little bit slower than the
Oh, yeah.
original. I noticed when you listen
I
to it.
want yes, yeah, that was again the producer's idea, and I actually always wanted to do. I mean, I really like grunge,
Mhm.
and I because that song was inspired a lot by the death of Kurt Cobain. I kind of thought it would be fun and indulgent for me to just do kind of a bit more grungy version of it. But you know, I love both the versions. But you're right, that is a complete, almost a different genre, which I think is quite fun. I think bands should do it more often. Like, here's our song, but here's our song also in an R&B version or drum and bass or something. I
Yeah,
think
it's
it's
like
quite fun.
doing a cover version of your own song. I mean, bands do re-records,
Yeah.
but quite often when they re-record, it is just a re-recording. To
Yeah.
actually do a new version's a nice take on that. Because you changed the lyrics ever so slightly as well. Was it? I know initially, and again, reading the material and so on, you're anti-gun,
Yeah.
as frankly any sensible person is.
Well, I had to, yeah.
But the lyrics, did you find that when you wrote the original song, people were misunderstanding the lyrics, or did you just feel like
Not,
changing them because you wanted it a little bit different for the new version?
no, I think it was definitely reactive because most people got what the song is about. I mean, it's pop music. I'm not, you know, writing an entry for the annals of history. But when Bang Bang did kind of like come back and take off, there was quite more than one person. There's quite a few people through the different platforms just saying, you know, asking if I was glorifying gun violence, and
Yeah,
some people thought it was something to do with Sandy Hook, or, and obviously the song was written way before that, so
yeah,
I was wanting to do a kind of grungier version anyway. And because there have been a lot of school shootings, I thought maybe I should just make it obvious. I wasn't trying to like make a stand like, oh, look at me, I'm anti-gun, but I just wanted to, yeah, just address that. Um,
clarify the message a little bit.
yeah, I mean, there wasn't really a message. It was a pop song, but don't
Mhm.
you want to bang, bang, bang? I guess I mean, yeah, I mean, bang has got two meanings and stuff, but I do keep getting asked about this, and I feel like the more I get asked about it, the more I don't even remember. But it definitely wasn't school shootings, and of course, like Kurt Cobain took his own life with a gun. So, but whether I'm glorifying it or not, it's a fine line, and everything gets so analyzed these days. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So people will just pick things up wrong.
yeah,
Um, there's also you're saying a while back you went through quite a bad time as well with everything kind of getting on top of you. You lost your job. You look at 2020 hit as well. So many problems. Um,
yep,
and again, this is something which I've been told you're happy to talk about because we've covered a lot of issues on mental health over the last couple of months in particular. We targeted Mental Health Week, and it's something which here at Moshville Times we appreciate that everybody is either affected by it immediately or one step separated. And
yep,
it's something that within ourselves, pretty much everybody at Moshville Times knows somebody who is affected by mental health to some extent or another. And we just want to raise awareness of that and looking at somebody who has been through a bad period of time and looking at how things are going now. I'd say success story. And
yeah.
would you be able to take us through how things went wrong and how it came back and how did you deal with it? And what could you tell people who are going through a bad time where everything just seems to not be working?
Um, the main thing is for people to know and to almost daily remind themselves that they are not alone. I felt very alone when I was going through it, but um, I just, it's really good that mental health has kind of taken everyone, people can feel that they can talk about it these days. 'Cause
Yeah.
I, like a lot of people my age and older, went through so much and didn't even realize that something was going on. You know, you'd take it out in other ways. Some people would have like unhealthy addictions or self-harm and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but the more, yeah, the more people and that actually probably was good for me that I had a creative outlet, because, anytime I've been kind of had like a difficult period, I seem to be able to want to write and get it out like that and write songs like Period, where I was just, but not, I appreciate not everyone has a creative outlet. So that's why it's important to talk about it. And I think you'd be surprised. I mean, the last few years, people talk about mental health, even if you just kind of, getting a grocery delivery from someone. It's nice how people can make jokes about moods and stuff.
Yeah.
But going back to what you asked about, yeah, like with the most recent one, like the Bang Bang going viral in 2021, so many years after I'd released it. It wasn't even a single, it was an album track. I chose to do a video of it. My friend who's a director owed me a favor. I said, can you just film us a video? Because I really liked the song.
Yeah.
So I was glad that I did that. But I remember, yeah, when the song started to go viral, I had just separated from my husband and we had twins. So I found myself like quite alone, and I'd kind of given up on a music career and was kind of a bit in between jobs. And then COVID happened, and then I had left like my employment a month or two before with the intention of finding a new job, because I built up some skills in
Yep.
the city just as like support staff. And yeah, and then obviously it doesn't rain, it pours, and I'm sure it did for loads of people. Um, and then my old label kept saying, because I've still got a relationship with them, they look after my catalog, and so it wasn't like we'd stopped talking, even though I wasn't doing Soho Dolls anymore.
Mhm.
They were like, this is picking up. And I remember getting excited when it was at 100,000 streams on Spotify. And I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of restarted the Soho Dolls Instagram. And then I've still got a video on my phone where I was so excited that it had reached 400,000 streams. Now it's 240 million streams across the platforms. So I don't know how it happened. I still wonder how it happened. I wonder if lockdown was why it happened, because people began playing games more, and we had Bang Bang was on Test Drive 2 Unlimited, which I think is a computer game. I wouldn't even be able to tell you whether it's a
It is. Yeah.
PlayStation or what. Okay, all right. But also Stripper was on Gossip Girl in quite a prominent scene.
Mhm.
So I think people were just consuming more because there's nothing else to do. And I think people just began discovering music. But one of the first TikTok videos that I saw was of this teenage girl in Texas that was, had a really cool kind of alternative look. Like, she was definitely like, goth or rock fan. And she put up a post saying she couldn't believe that a band from 2006 could write a song about strippers that wasn't in the least misogynistic or sexist. And I was like, yes, I got something right by accident. So yeah, I don't have, I would say that the Soho Dolls going viral during lockdown definitely helped pull me out of the slump that I was in. Um and I didn't even have a music studio anymore, so because I'd sold everything. So I just started again a little bit, but mainly wrote one of the new songs, What Kind of Love, when I was walking to the supermarket with the pushchair, because that was the only time I could get silence, and just had a 6/8 like beat in my head, and was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do this. And then the numbers just kept going up and up on Bang Bang. And then the old label were like, do you want to do this again? And I said, where do I sign?
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, it's all a bit of a jumbled story with lots of different things happening at the same time. But I didn't just like snap out of the slump. It's definitely, and it's never like it's not been like a linear journey. It's still kind of up and down, but you see past the oscillations. I'm hoping that it's on its way up.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Sometimes it just takes that one special thing to get you out of a situation. But yeah, the thing you mentioned at the beginning is always remember you're not alone,
you're
and
not alone.
it
Exactly.
will end, even though it often seems like it won't. I mean, for you, the lucky thing was, I mean, it was unbelievable. Madonna's daughter pops a video up on TikTok of her dancing to one of your songs. I mean, that's not going to
I
happen to
know.
everybody.
And they tagged us. Madonna tagged us. It was amazing. In fact, I had moved house when it happened, and it was I think it was lockdown. No, lockdown started in March, didn't it? I can't remember.
Yes, it did. It was, yeah,
Yeah, okay, no,
just
so
on Easter, yeah.
okay, no, I'd moved to a new home that didn't have, I hadn't set up the Wi-Fi yet, so I wasn't in contact with anyone. And then when I went back into town, I had these messages pop up from my friends around the world saying, "Oh my God, well done." I was like, "What are they saying well done about?" And then I realized it had been like, yeah, that Madonna had shared it, but it had already kind of like, it had already been peaking, and lots of people had been doing videos of it. But yeah, the mental health thing, the main thing is like, yeah, you just have to start talking to people a bit more. And often it's not necessarily people in your friends group
Mhm.
or your family. Family is quite a loaded situation to kind
Yeah.
of, you know, there's just all the, it's sometimes better to speak to strangers on the internet sometimes in forums, and
Mhm.
there is community and support out there, or the grocery delivery person.
Or pretty much anybody who will listen. And
Anyway,
you said
exactly.
before, it's nice that people are open about it. Quite often you find that the most obscure person is the one who will just sit down and listen.
Yeah,
And whether it's the grocery delivery person or your Aunt Marjorie or a colleague at work, whoever it happens to be, it's
exactly.
sometimes, but opening up can often be the hardest part. Once you get over that hurdle and the
Yeah,
conversation starts, that's you on the right
exactly.
path.
And
Yeah.
going through that's made me a much better listener. So like sometimes when there's people that I interact with who aren't even friends and they're like, "Oh, sorry, I can't do this for you today. Such and such has happened." Then I'll immediately send a message just saying, you know, if something similar happened to me, and just say, "This is what you need to remember." And it's great. And then it's so yeah, it's also important to be a listener if you've gone through it, and to, look out for people. Um, and just offer little bits of support, whether it's a text or like, some dark humor that shows that you understand what they're going through.
Yeah, it's easy to be sympathetic when you know what it is you're being sympathetic about. Absolutely.
Exactly.
On a more positive and future looking note, you mentioned that you're working on a next full album.
Yes.
So what are the plans for Soho Dolls going forward? We've just had the EP out, album coming up. Are we looking at any more live dates? Any more 34 date UK tours?
Oh my God. I don't know if I can handle 35. I mean, it was great. I got to see, all these almost every part of the UK. And whenever I meet people from, they're like, "Oh, from this county." I'm like, "Yeah, whereabouts?" They're like, you wouldn't know. And I'm like, "Try me." I'll know. I'll probably know. But yeah, so the album, I've got maybe 4 tracks left to do on the album, but not to start. They're all like at this stage where they're buffering at 99%, and they have been for about 3 months. And it's just so hard to sign off on things because you're thinking, "Oh my God, is this vocal good enough?
Mhm.
Did we completely change the drum sound?" No, not really. So I think it's going to be wrapped up by September. I've and it'll be already like the songs that we've been releasing in the EP, and then it's just going to switch to album format.
All right, okay.
But I'm basically my plan is to just keep on releasing music every 4 to 6 weeks. But once I deliver the 12, the like numbers 9, 10, 11, 12, then I'll look at doing live dates, because actually Alan McGee got in touch with me and he gave me my first record deal. The man who managed and signed Oasis and the Hives and stuff. He's actually now concentrating on live. So he said, as soon as your album's done, let's get some live dates sorted. But it's interesting doing it now because you've got at hand all of your analytics,
Yeah,
and I've got obviously followers in the UK, but most of my followers are in the States. But in America, everything is so spread out,
yeah.
and the visa situation is very hard for non-American bands to go to the States to play. It's not the same for them coming over here.
Mhm.
So yeah, that has to be planned a bit better.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
even
So
finding somebody else to tour with as well.
yeah,
It's
yes,
part of a
exactly.
package. But as you said, the visa situations, yeah, we are aware, talking to lots of bands. It's not
Oh,
easy,
you
but it's
are.
one of those things where you have to trust somebody else to do the work for you.
Yes, and it takes time and it's really, really, really expensive. And it's kind of like a bit kind of annoying that it's not as hard for American acts to do it. It's really hard to kind of, yeah, tour in the States. And if you go in on the fly and do like a show, you can
Yeah.
be banned forever. That happened to a Canadian band that crossed
Mhm.
the border to do a gig and they didn't declare it, they didn't do it the right way. And I think they got like a 5-year ban.
Yeah.
So
So if you're
yeah.
only going to pop over there for 1 year, yeah, that's maybe fine. If you're planning on going back again, you can't chance it.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll certainly be keeping an eye out for that. So you're thinking about September-ish.
Yeah, I mean, we've got
We do
another
ones,
single. Oh, you're talking about live or the album?
album first, and then live. Live, I'd assume would probably be next year. I'd have thought if you're
Y-
looking at.
Yes. Yes, because it's been ages since I've been. It's one thing singing in the studio and you've got
Yeah,
as many takes as you want to do. So yeah, I might have to have some emergency pitching lessons again. I seem to have got louder, probably from shouting at the twins, but yeah,
I
my
was just going to
pitching
say that's just a
a bit
parent
out
thing.
of
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
But
And
yeah,
we've got singles coming out like every month. So there's another one coming out on the 21st of July called
okay.
Territory of Your Heart, and then another one in August, and then probably another one in September, and then October. Actually, I've just realized there's 4 left. So yeah, October.
Smashing. And then maybe followed by an announcement of once you've had a bit of practice at
Yes,
singing at a
exactly.
sensible volume with a microphone. Um,
Exactly. In tune.
I didn't want to say that.
I used to have really good pitch, but it's really weird. It's very much something, it's like some kind of muscle with the brain. It's definitely something that you think you will always have, but if you haven't been doing it day in, day out, it's you lose the skill. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So we'll certainly be keeping an eye out for that. We'll keep an eye out for live dates as well and give them a plug as and when they appear. If you happen
Great.
to make it up to
Thank you.
Glasgow, I will do my best to get along to the show as well.
Oh, King Tut's was always our favorite place to play.
I was
So
there
we'd love
just over a week ago. Yeah.
amazing. Who did you see?
The two original members of Sepultura are the two brothers.
Oh, cool. Nice.
They're touring on their third album, I think it was. It was all like very, very old school material.
Did
And
they sing that song Roots, Bloody Roots?
funnily enough,
Is
that
that
was,
them?
I think that's about one of the few. No, they didn't. They didn't. They did Refuse
Okay.
Resist because they were touring off the
Okay then.
original material before everybody else joined the band and stuff. So it was like
Okay
really
then.
old stuff, like the really heavy, almost Black
Oh,
definitely kind of
wow.
influence,
Cool.
with a little bit of some of the slightly newer stuff of that era just towards the tail end. It was an interesting tour because they both
Okay.
separated from the main bands now, and now they're kind of touring together. And they have
Oh, I
re-recorded
see.
the first 3 albums, but they've re-recorded them very similar to the way when they first came out. Unlike what you
Okay.
did with Bang Bang,
Unlike, yeah. Yeah.
they've done the opposite one and just re-recorded them. I think it's a copyright kind of thing, so they can
Yes,
start making money.
happens
But anyway,
often. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
contracts,
cool.
record labels. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
You are very welcome. It's been an absolute delight. I'll try and get this up as soon as we can, and we'll keep an ear out
Okay.
for July the 21st for the next single,
Yes,
September,
please.
October for the album kind of news, and then early next year for the tour details.
Exactly. Great.
Superb.
Thank you.
Maya, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Take care.
You
Thanks
too.
for having me. I'm so
Bye.
nervous. Bye.